high school and found there was nothing there, which is odd because I went to go pick up my son from school. Oh, that was the 25th. But the day I was arrested was the 28th. The day that I was arrested, I have stamped documents to show that I was out looking for houses from the housing authority. I had gone to several places that morning, and they timestamped paperwork. So an hour before my arrest, I was already occupied doing something else.
Okay, but you just said that you were at the motel, and you were kicked out of the motel, and then you drove straight to
I wasn't kicked out of the motel ever.
Or you left the motel because your kids were taken.
Like earlier that week before we left.
And then you didn't say that before.
Well, that morning we went and looked. Cause every day we've been looking for a place to live.
Okay, well that's fine. It's no problem because you're making it sound like you were driving around looking for places to live.
Morning. That was in the morning.
Prior to going to.
Before they took the kids, I believe it was around noon, because that's what they thought I was going to be checking out of the hotel, and the arrest happened maybe an hour after that at the park. So, but before that, we got up every morning. We went and had breakfast, and then we went to the housing authority and checked for these houses. No and after that's when it happened. And I have no phone records calling my mother either.
When did you get, or did you leave the Casitas address?
On the 25th when I was forced out. And I had to leave in my car.
You were forced out by whom?
Deputy Julian Gillian, or I don't know how to say his name.
And he just arbitrarily said you need to leave?
Or
did your mom say
no,
you need to
he
leave?
told me that
did
he came for a welfare check, I guess, and from the assault from my brother, and it was ordered to interview the children or something, and I said the children are not here. They're with their father because I need to secure a place to live. When my brother was arrested, my mother forced us out into the garage. She did it in front of your sheriff. She did it in front of the tow truck driver the day of my brother's arrest, I took my kids out of the house and went and got them dinner, and I tried to calm my son down. I said, we're getting out of here, because there had been several times my mother has hit my children and my brother as well, and I don't believe in corporal punishment. And I tried to explain to them, if like you guys don't spend any time with my children, you don't even know them, but you just want to lash out without finding a second side of the story, don't discipline my children. I go, and we try to stay outside most of the time anyway. And I was outside with the children, and we had been swimming in the pool, and then my son was going to go across the street to his friends, and his parents knew that I was going to go get tacos for dinner for everybody, and I was taking the rest of my children. And as I'm putting my other children in the car, my brother comes out, and he's standing in the driveway with this weird look on his face, and he's pointing at my son at the end of the driveway and telling him about shoes. Where's his effing shoes? And when I heard that, I opened the door and I said, what are you doing? I go, I'm right here. Why are you yelling at him about shoes? He's going swimming. He doesn't need them. Well, the shoe thing is important because that's all the other police reports where the kids have no shoes.
I'm not worried about the police reports right now. I'm worried about how all of a sudden Guillen forced you to leave the house.
I'm trying to tell you. So we were forced into the garage the day my brother was arrested for hitting my son. And
when did that happen?
On the he was arrested on the 6th of August. This happened on the 6th of August. And after that, I had, the sheriffs that arrested him told me to secure, because they said my brother will be back. And I said, I'm trying to move out of here the best I can. I had actually got accepted to move into something on the 28th. And I said, everything's packed up, as you can see, we're just waiting. We have nowhere to go, we have no family. And she said, the female officer, I didn't get her name, but she was kind, and she said, and the male officer, I think he was the one who arrested my brother, but I can't be sure. He said, well, he will be back, and to make sure that you're doing your part protecting your children, he says, secure this man door so he cannot enter into this garage where we were put into. And I said, okay, so I took a tie down, the ones for the car, the zip downs or whatever they're called, and I put it to the doorknob, and I secured it down to a metal pole and tied it down. And then I put my couch to the door so they couldn't if they wanted to come into the garage, I would have to undo it and let them in.
And then you're talking about your brother, if your brother wanted to come into the garage.
Right.
Okay.
And my mother kept my oldest son in the house, and I was not allowed to talk to him. And even when my mother would be at work or my brother wouldn't be there, I'd go to the door and say, Jacob, the children need to use the restroom. And he would say, I'm not allowed to let you in the house. And I said, she doesn't need to know. She's not here. Don't do this. And then we were just forced out and not allowed to use the restroom.
And that was by your mother?
Yes.
Okay.
But my son now is taking orders from her. And after that, I mean, the living conditions were not easy with 7 children, you know, driving to the Jack in the Box. They live in Butterfield. And it just became harder and harder, bathing the kids outside with the hose. But I had already found a place, and we're moving in on the 28th. Then the sheriff came for another welfare check, and he said this time he was sent by CPS. And I said, look, they're not here. They're with their dad. We're leaving. This is enough. You know, like, I've had several unfounded call. Every time the sheriffs came before, they're in and out. They come check because they say I don't feed my kids, I'm not supervising them, or they don't have shoes, or whatever it is. And every single time they come, there's a pantry full of food. The kids are fed. There's not one sign of abuse. Not one child says that. And so they would come in real quick, go look around, talk to the kids, and they just call it a day. And this officer, Julian, changed his demeanor. And then he said, so where are your children at? Do you not know where your children are? And I said, they're with their father. I called him last night and said, I need you to take the kids till I could get us out into a better situation. And he says, do you not know where's that at? And I said, I don't know the physical address. I have a phone number, how I get a hold of him. And then he says, oh, so you drop your kids off and you just don't know where they are? And I said, they're with their father. Like, what are you getting at? And next thing you know, I got a text message from CPS saying, oh, you think it's okay to have your kids with a child abuser? And I said, what? I go, he's never been charged with anything. Yes, we had our domestic violence, but he did his classes, and I go, I've seen him. He was happy to see his children, and I don't have the right to keep them from him anyway. They're his children. And I felt okay because he was living with aunts and cousins, so I didn't feel like he was on his own with them, that he had a support system. And then Officer Julian told me, okay, well, the kids aren't here, you got to leave. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, or you're going to go to jail right now for criminal trespassing. And I went, you can't do that. I live here, I've been here since December, and you're just going to tell me all of a sudden I have to get up and go? I go, what about my property? He says, oh, take pictures of it. But how he got in is that he was going in through the house, and he was pushing down the door. He pushed it far enough where he loosened the ties, and then he cut the ties in and broke in.
Was your mom home at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
And when he told me that I was being kicked out because the children weren't there, and for criminal trespassing, I said, well, I guess then if this is happening this way, and I pointed at my brother who's standing behind him, I said, I'd like to report an assault, and this time I won't keep my mouth shut. And he says, what? I go, yeah, I wanted to tell you that Benjamin Hansen assaulted me on 2 occasions, and he did physical bodily damage. And I was told by Tess Hansen before, if I ever called the police on him, that I would be homeless in a hot second. And so then I talked to the officer, I showed him the pictures, I showed him the video, and he pretended to take down information, yet he failed to take a report. And he told me I needed to leave. I said, I can't leave in that truck. And he says, I can't leave until you leave. And I said, fine. I went into the garage, I grabbed some things, 2 safes I had, and some clothing for me and the children, and tried to grab anything that I thought I would be able to use to sell if I had to.
And you believe that Deputy Guillen just arbitrarily decided that you were going to get kicked out of the
Yeah, he did.
house?
He did not have a writ of possession from a judge to evict me. That he broke into my place without a warrant and threw me out onto the street, forced me onto the street, taking what I could take in my hands, and told me that I could only come back to my property with a sheriff to keep the peace. I said, okay. I said, so he's all, your mother has been warned not to touch your property. I said, thank you. Took pictures. couple days later, I go